The 2023 regular season is officially in the books. We are on to the playoffs. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, PFF's John Kosko, is in here as we turn our eyes clearly to the playoffs. Cleveland Browns traveling to Houston Saturday, 4:30. I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. If you are not part of the everyday crowd by now, make a new plan, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Like I said yesterday, obviously, Cleveland Browns lose in Cincinnati 31-14. Not much to write home about. Obviously, when you don't play a significant amount of your top talent, you get a result like you did yesterday. Pretty impressive overall, though. The AFC North, as much hype as went into that division this season, all four teams do finish over 500. Three teams move on to the playoffs. But we're going to talk about one thing and one thing only here. The Cleveland Browns obviously headed towards Houston Saturday. But John, before we get a little bit deeper in depth here in segments 2 and segments 3, it's just been an impressive season. I mean, you talk about adversity, you talk about, next man up, you talk about the 1-0 mantra, and, sometimes, cliches will get you canned out the door. But, working like that, 53 is one, coaching staff is one, obviously front office, this entire organization on the same page. This team does not sit here at 11-6 going to play a playoff game if you did not have basically all cylinders working together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to give credit, I think, to this coaching staff the most in terms of how they were able to keep it together. Because NFL teams, like even when you get to the backups and stuff like that, yeah, like there's the talent discrepancy starts to widen. And for the Browns to be able to hold it together for as long as it did with the two backup quarterbacks that, DTR and PJ Walker, who, I mean, they weren't very good this year. DTR was better than PJ Walker, but the fact that they were able to pull off wins, multiple wins with both quarterbacks is really impressive. And to mitigate those losses, and then once Flacco came in, the difference in obviously the offensive production, really showed. But the fact that they were able to pull off these wins, you really have to give credit to Kevin Stefanski and this coaching staff to be able to, to keep these guys motivated, because you saw what the Jets are like with, when you lose a quarterback, they struggle. They have a talented roster. They really do. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL, and even offensively, they still have talent on that offense. You see it with Washington. They just fired their head coach because he wasn't a guy that was able to keep it together with various different injuries and trades that they've made and stuff like that. You look at the Patriots, even Bill Belichick, as good as he's been throughout his whole career, right? Like without a quarterback, they're nothing, right? So I think with how this, obviously you give credit to Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta and the whole organization from the top down in terms of, putting together a roster and the culture and everything like that it's changed to. But I think first and foremost, the coaching staff would really get credit. And then obviously you give it to the players for really never giving up, never backing down. So, I think overall, obviously this is a very successful season. And I think, when it takes time. This is where like you don't get the, last year was a struggling year, and you've seen it for the past couple of years where after Stefanski's first year, it's like, oh, he doesn't have it. You had a lot of people calling for Stefanski to develop play calling, a lot of them to get hit for him to be fired and whatnot. And this is why you stick with a guy when you believe in the vision that they have, and we don't know the ins and outs of what's going on daily. So yeah, I think from a full season perspective, it's really good from top to bottom of this organization to put together obviously a playoff team that has a chance to make some noise in the playoffs now. And it's anybody's game, and with Flacco playing the way he is. So
now, obviously, this team, very star laden, very talented, driven, throughout the roster. But some of the biggest storylines of this team over this 2023 season kind of drifted away from those guys. I mean, talking about it wasn't the best day for Ronnie Hickman yesterday, and everybody kind of understood maybe a day like that was coming. But a guy who was really, really vital here over the last couple of weeks, the whole Joe Flacco story. Jerome Ford, 1,100 total yards, 9 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, a guy that was not going to be a part of this team, coming in week 3, scoring 9 touchdowns for this team. The development of David Njoku taking that next layer to becoming what we all figured was there, between the athletic ability, the overall general talent, the fact that he put so much effort in to become more of an inline tight end. Some of the, not basically the headline names, became some of the better storylines, John, of this 2023 regular season.
Yeah, you talk about the star-laden team that this is, and the defense obviously struggled yesterday. And because when it comes to defense, first and foremost, is a weak link type of unit, right? So if you have a weak link there, the offense is going to pick on that weak link, and they're going to expose that. When you have multiple ones, there's not really much a defense can do. And you had some good performances in that game yesterday, but really, when you don't have Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith and Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome and Juan Thornhill, I mean the list goes on in terms of the number of players that you didn't have in that game yesterday. Everybody else's performance will suffer because of it. Like Ronnie Hickman's he's a rookie, undrafted rookie for a reason. Obviously I think he showed that he has a spot in this league. But there's a reason why every single team overlooked him multiple times. And I think yesterday kind of showed that, but we saw what he can do when the pieces around him are solid. He can rise and raise his level of ability to make plays and be free to make those types of plays. So, this Myles Garrett obviously highlights the entire group. Defensive player of the year, and I don't think there's really a question in our eyes. At PFF, I know that there's a lot of debate that's going around in terms of who is the best edge rusher and all that type of stuff. There's nobody better on the planet than Myles Garrett, and it's not even close. So pass rush win rate, he's light years above everybody else. Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa come close, in the stratosphere of him. But his grade, he's a 93.6, highest graded player on defense. Pass rush grade 94.8. Both of those are records for a defensive end in our system since 2006. He broke his records from last year. We're not biased towards Myles Garrett. If a guy's playing well, he's going to get graded well. If he's destroying his offensive tackle in 1.5 seconds, he's getting a high grade for that. Regardless if the quarterback threw that ball in 1.4 seconds, he still destroyed that guy really quickly. So he makes everything go with this defense. We saw it for 2 games where he had that shoulder injury against the Broncos and against the Rams. He tried to go through in both of those games. He wasn't himself. We saw that. And this defense suffered a bit because of it. When he is at his full strength, which, he's now at that, this defense just goes because teams fear Myles Garrett, and it's obvious. They will double and triple team him almost every single play. He and Micah Parsons are the most double teamed players in the NFL, and for good reason. They're the 2 best edge rushers in the NFL. People want to throw mud at a wall if you want to talk about TJ Watt being better. There's not a comparison. It really isn't. He's a good player. He's just not Myles Garrett. So yeah, this team runs by how good Myles Garrett is playing, and even if he's not making pressures, teams are double and triple teaming, and so it frees up guys like Zadarius Smith and Obo Okoronkwo and everybody else to make plays, and they do.
And it's certainly been, a fun, thing to watch it all come together. I mean, I go back in the day, it was, Michael Jordan, the Jordan-aires, which was kind of what it was for Myles Garrett early in his career here. But this season, not so much, as these guys have actually made their own, obviously came in as name brands and certainly showed that they were name brands. We're going to get a little bit deeper into Browns Texans. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. Do not go anywhere. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, but when they do, they have to hit. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, it's quick, and it's easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We continue on here. Your latest Locked On Browns, Jeff Lloyd, joined by PFF's John Kosko, as we prepare and move into Cleveland Browns, Houston Texans, 4:30 NRG Stadium in Houston. John, obviously, we go back to Christmas Eve, and obviously, the Browns went down there and just absolutely handled business. And for a lot of people like myself, we needed that. We had a lot of stuff to do. It was Christmas Eve. We had to get ready for the next day as well. For the Browns, it couldn't have gone better that week, except for the run game. And one thing, obviously, Houston has been pretty successful with that most of the season. Their last two regular season games, though, the Houston Texans, that ability to stop the run kind of, got washed away for them. So that's certainly going to be a key storyline as we go into this game this week. But, John, if you're the offense and you're going back in here, do you basically just think, hey, we can just continue to do what we did just a couple of weeks ago? And also keeping in mind with that, you got some guys, obviously Amari Cooper hasn't played since Christmas Eve. There's going to be a lot of players going into this game that have not played since December 28th. So the Browns should be rested. I know a lot of people are nervous about rust, but when you get to this point, rest over rust, everybody's going to take rest every single time.
Yeah, that it's totally overblown. Like, when teams come off of a bye, are they rusty? Like, it's like, those teams that have the Ravens who have the first, the first round bye, or when you had two teams that would have first round byes, those teams always had the massive advantage, and it was like a 75% win percentage for the home divisional round team because they were rested and they were at home. So like, being rested is much more valuable than, I'd say, getting reps in a week 18 game after you've played an entire season. So like, that's not like you're coming off of not playing for an entire year or something like that. Are they going to be able to throw like they did in the Christmas Eve game? Probably not. Like Amari Cooper put up the greatest Browns receiving game of all time. You're not going to be able to expect that. Again, you hopefully Elijah Moore is good to go, and you still have your full complement of wide receivers, and you'll be able to spread it around a bit more because, I think they're going to have their attention on Amari Cooper. I know that the Texans had a few injuries in the secondary that game as well. They were able to pick on the backup there. I can't even remember what the guy's name was or whatever, but Amari Cooper shredded him on a double move for a touchdown. So there's, you'd think that the Browns should be able to throw on them for sure. And that we've seen it, multiple weeks in a row now where Joe Flacco is having has the ability to throw it almost at will on guys. So, I think they'll be able to pass the ball. The Texans have been really good at stopping the run. So you're definitely going to need to be able to pass the ball, to win this game. So if Joe Flacco's got, basically continues what he's been doing, I think the Browns should be fine offensively. I don't think you're going to see the offensive firepower that you saw in that game, but I think you should get a good offense from them regardless, because the Texans defense is not great, especially against outside wide receivers. So Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore should continue to have success against them.
And certainly going to be vital for this team. And, obviously the Browns last game that we're actually counting, of course, was the Jets, and the Browns were able to run the ball a little bit more effectively that game, able to run the ball a little bit more effectively inside. Look, you can only do so much when you're down to your fourth and your fifth offensive tackles. And look, these guys are doing the best they can, but there's a reason these guys are both reserves in the NFL. That's, for me, John, is probably going to be a key part of it. I mean, because number one, you need balance. And look, the Browns probably are going to end up in some sort of playoff game where weather might be a factor. So you want to be able to know you got to have the ability to run the ball when you need to. The other thing is you don't want to give CJ Stroud 45, 50 shots of tossing the pill around the field.
Yeah, Stroud. So like the thing I didn't like about Stroud coming out, and it was the fact that not that he couldn't throw the ball. Like I think it was clear and obvious that the guy had the talent to be able to throw the ball in multiple different platforms and operate an offense. It was his ability to arise above in the biggest stage. You talk about he struggled against Oregon his sophomore year. He struggled against Michigan twice. He couldn't win those games. He had one really good game against the was it Georgia in the playoff game or whatever. But then he struggled down the stretch. Like he like in the crunch moment of that game, he didn't show up. So for me, like Stroud has that ability, and if you get pressure on him early and often, like the Browns are able to do, he's going to struggle. I think regardless of him, he's obviously had a great rookie season. Give props to him for his play there. But just look at his PFF grade under pressure, 48.9. Get pressure on the guy, he's going to crumble. He's going to put the ball in harm's way. His completion percentage drops by 17 points. His yards per attempt drops by 3.5. So he struggles when you put pressure on him. And there's no better team in the NFL to be able to put pressure on a quarterback than the Browns, especially quick pressure because of number 95 back there. So I think the Browns run defense is like a boom or bust type of run defense, because they have like the most tackles at or behind the line of scrimmage of any team in the NFL, and they have the quickest like tackle first contact. They prevent the most the fewest yards per contact, but then they also have the fifth most missed tackles in the league as well in the run game. So if they are able to get the guys down, then it's like they become, the other team becomes one-dimensional, and that's obviously beneficial for the Browns.
No question about it. We're going to get a little bit deeper here. Browns defense, obviously Houston Texans offense. Your latest Locked On Browns PFF, John Kosko along for the ride. The NFL regular season is wrapped up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's at $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet. Live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub. It's the best way to find the most popular parlays out there. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Continuing on here, your latest Locked On Browns. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day, to the everyday crowd. If you're not part of the everyday crowd, well, you need to be. And the best way to do that is subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Obviously, John, one big factor, certainly, and a couple others. Obviously, Will Anderson didn't play in that first game either. One big factor, CJ Stroud was not a part of this first game. So, and I know a lot of Browns fans are nervous, and I think a lot of that comes from their inner Buckeye fandom as well. But you've got a rookie quarterback going to his first playoff game here. You brought in this savvy defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz. Look, rookie quarterback, well-established defensive coordinator. You think the table should most likely be tilted in Jim Schwartz's favor here because CJ hasn't seen anything yet from Jim Schwartz. And obviously Jim Schwartz has 15 games of film to go on to get ready for young CJ Stroud.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's like I was talking about with, just a minute ago, how Stroud struggles under pressure. The Browns are one of the best at getting pressure after the quarterback. And with he's going to throw things at Stroud that he has not seen. There's a lot of things that Stroud has not seen in the NFL so far. They do a good job of, Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, does a really good job of dialing things up and, helping to keep him clean from pressure and making, getting Nico Collins open. He's been an absolute stud this year as well. But yeah, Jim Schwartz has been defensive coordinator longer than CJ Stroud has been alive. It's like he's forgotten more for football knowledge than CJ Stroud has ever even consumed in his lifetime. So, I think with Schwartz, he's got the advantage here. They haven't seen what Stroud can do, in person, because he wasn't available for that game when they obviously the Browns just decimated them and basically they didn't have it's still the same offense that the Houston Texans were running. It just wasn't, they didn't have CJ Stroud running it, and it was Case Keenum and then Davis Mills. I almost forgot his name. And they really didn't get anything going until the fourth quarter when they put in their backups. They were not able to get past midfield in the entire game.
No, so keep in mind, the only thing that had him in the game to that point was a kickoff return. But go ahead.
Exactly. So this to me, I think is still going to be an advantage to the Browns defense and Jim Schwartz than CJ Stroud. I mean, as good as Stroud has been, it's really hard to win in the playoffs, and it's really hard for a rookie quarterback to win in the playoffs. So I think you have the advantage with Jim Schwartz here in this defense, especially this pass rush that's going to be able to get after them. And especially, you talk about the Browns defense. Their strength is the pass defense. They've been the best pass defense team in the NFL this year. They give it the fewest EPA per play. They've given up the fewest first downs.
45 less first downs than the New York Jets, who finished second. But go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just we can go off of a whole bunch of stats in terms of what the Browns have been number one in this category, and especially in pass defense. So it's going to be a much tougher test for CJ Stroud than I think Browns fans maybe anticipate. They probably think that Stroud is better than he's been not going to take anything away from Stroud. He's had one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen from a quarterback. But I think, he has 23 touchdowns this year, 5 interceptions. He has only 23 big time throws this year, which is, 4.3% of his throws. He also has 17 turnover-worthy plays. So I think there's, you can pressure him into mistakes, which we've seen. And it's not like he has he's not like he's slinging big time throws left and right, for this team. So there's, especially when he's going to be under pressure. Like when he's under pressure, he, his big time throw rate drops and his turnover throw rate goes way up. So, I think this defense is this defense has been really good, and it's been proven over the course of the year. So.
And I think, in my opinion, that was one of the most vital reasons yesterday in sitting everybody that you did. This recording is taking place on Monday. Keep in mind, the Browns, this would be their off day with the game day on Saturday. So we're not going to probably get any new information. Obviously, one of the biggest names that everybody's looking forward to hear something about would certainly be Grant Delpit. This would be the week that the window opens back up, whether or not Grant Delpit will be able to come back to practice, maybe even be able to go on Saturday. It'd be one of the other big storylines here for this week for the Cleveland Browns. As we we know Ogbo, one of the reasons, and I tried to tell you guys, they wanted to see what they thought they could get out of him, putting him out there with the harness, just see how he moved and see if he at least can be a contributor. But, with the emergence of Alex right here over the last couple of weeks, anything Ogbo gives you, in my opinion, is going to be gravy. So you feel pretty good about that, just getting yet another established pass rusher into the fold here. Browns will play 4:30 in Houston on Sunday. You can leave the Peacock to the Swifties. I mean, the Chiefs fans, the Dolphins fans can worry about trying to find that app out and figuring all that out as far as watching that game Saturday night. It's always a pleasure getting John in here. And of course, now as we pick this up here, of course, to the playoffs, it's going to be a big one. And I think my biggest nerve is being the first team off the bat. I think that's the one that scares me the most, is like, it's the first playoff game. But you probably don't want to be first, and you certainly don't want to have the anticipation of waiting around till Monday night. Right? Somewhere in between there would have been nice.
In 2020, they were the last, right?
They were the Sunday nighter.
It was a Sunday night, so that was the second to last one. Okay,
yeah,
and that obviously started off. You couldn't have scripted it better than what it
Carl
started
Joseph,
off.
Baby. Carl Joseph, Ben Roethlisberger. I still don't know why he didn't kick the ball out of the back of the end zone and just take the 2 points. Still 3.5 years later, I still sit and I wonder about that one. But as Mays, always make sure you follow him at John Kosko 3. Of course, John, we try to get him in here as much as we can, get the PFF perspective. Plus, John's just a football mind that I appreciate talking to, so we get a lot of good stuff from that. Even though wide receivers will always be better than defensive backs, and that will stand the test of time. So I appreciate all of you, of course, who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. If you're not part of the Everyday Crowd by now, well, get on a bus, go subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show's always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.